What's up guys? Good morning, I am Juan Fernando and today we are going to talk about shooting in manual mode. So let's hit that intro and get started. So guys, the main question is, why should we shoot in manual mode when our expensive DSLR cameras can choose the settings for us? That would make life so much easier. The main reason is that you can manipulate the shutter speed, ISO and aperture to get the desired effect in your photograph. You have more freedom to get what you need when you are capturing your photograph rather than staying on the fixed settings that your camera picks up. Here you can see some examples where I have used different techniques while using manual mode to get good looking photographs. Next, shutter speed. Shutter speed is the amount of time that is taken by your mirror to move up and down, exposing your sensor to light. The more time that the sensor spends exposed to light, the more light enters the sensor, which means that you will end up with a bright exposed image. But if you choose a faster shutter speed, it means that less light would be entering the sensor, which would mean that you would end up with a darker image. However, when picking your shutter speed, you should consider the fact that from the time you click the shutter and the mirror goes up, your image is being captured right up until your mirror comes back down, closing the sensor. Which means that if you are shooting a fast moving object such as an athlete or a race car, or even if you are shooting handheld, you should consider picking a faster shutter speed, a high shutter speed, to prevent your image from being blurred out. If you choose a lower shutter speed, your image will it might look like this. It is usually recommended for the shutter speed to be kept at or above 1 over the focal length you are shooting at when you are shooting handheld without a tripod. Next up, aperture. Aperture is the opening in your lens that allows light to reach your sensor. So larger the opening, more light that enters the sensor, which means you result in brighter and well exposed image. But if you close the aperture, it means that less light is reaching the sensor, which will result in darker images. Aperture also affects the bokeh effect in your image, which means that if you shoot wide open around f2.8, you would result with the bokeh effect in your images, which means that your subject would be in focus but everything behind and in front of the subject would be blurred out. And also, if you are shooting with a closed aperture, there would be more sharpness in your image, but you would be losing the bokeh effect. So when you're picking your aperture, always think of what effect you are going for and then choose the f-stop that you are going to use. Finally, the thing that you have to learn to control is your ISO. So once you pick your shutter speed and aperture, it is the ISO's duty to balance the exposure in your photograph. ISO is basically like your sun. So when there's more sunlight, your surroundings are more lit, and when there's less sunlight, your surroundings are dark. It's the same with ISO. So when you increase the ISO, the brightness in your image increases, and when you decrease the ISO, the brightness decreases. So basically, that's what you have to think about when choosing your ISO. The only issue with ISO is that if you get too high, it tends to introduce a bit of grain into your image. So to get a good output, you have to stay as low as possible. So guys, now that you know what each of these settings does to your image, you have to get the exposure right and you are good to go. So at first you will have to rely heavily on your light meter. So what your light meter basically does is it analyzes your surroundings and as a whole, and then it picks the average exposure level so that your image is well exposed. But sometimes, for example, if you are shooting in direct sunlight and the sky is a part of your background, your camera will think that the sky is overexposed, and then it will try to bring it down by showing you that your image is overexposed. But at this point, if you go with the light meter at point 0, you will realize that your subject is slightly underexposed. So my recommendation is that at first, once you go to your location, shoot a few trial photographs at points above 0, at 0 and below 0, and then look at your images and think of what settings are like, what exposure level is the best for you, and then keep shooting at that exposure level. So once you get used to shooting in manual, you will not need the light meter much. You will just see the surroundings and think, hey, I know the settings, and you will pick your settings and start shooting. So which means that you will not rely on the light meter much when you get used to your camera and shooting in manual.
I could see this through. I could wait another night. One more night, one more night. I could fight it through till the darkness turns to light. One more night, one more night. Say it's gonna be okay.
So guys, it's 6:30 AM and I've never been up and out at this time, and I wish that I came out more at this time because it looks really good out here. As you can see, even the sky looks overcast, and it's the perfect conditions for photography and videography. So I wish I came out more at this time. So anyways, it looked good, and I thought I'd head out, show you the surroundings, and share with you some tips that you might find useful when you are practicing shooting in manual mode. So let's get started.
Shut the blinds, I could deny. One more night, one more night. I wanna blister fool everyone that it's alright. One more night, one more night. Say it's gonna be okay, 'cause this winter is so long, feels like it's haunting me. Say there's gonna be a change, 'cause I feel like I'm just holding on to yesterday. But if I wait till the summer.
Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed the B-roll. Anyways, oh wow, I really need to work on getting a gorilla pod. So anyways, the main things that you need to think about when you're shooting in manual mode are like always practice. Take your maybe siblings, or maybe take photographs of the trees, the animals, plants, whatever you find outside, and always practice. That's the number one thing when you are shooting in manual mode. Practice so that you can choose the settings without even thinking about it. The next main thing is to like always check your photographs, mainly in the beginning when you are still learning on how to shoot in manual. Always check your photograph as soon as you take it, because you don't want to go home and start to edit and see that all your photos are overexposed or underexposed or totally blurred. So always check your photographs once you capture them. Finally, what you need to think about is once you've mastered shooting in manual mode, like basically changing the ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and getting the exposure right, try to learn about panning and different techniques like long exposures, which can make your photos look better. So guys, basically that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you learned something from it. So anyways, please like and subscribe, and see you on my next video.
I'm in love with all your lights and your colors. I'm in love with all your nights. But you've kept me far away from my focus, and to my heart I cannot lie. Stars, made of stars, up above, made to fall. Stars, counting stars. and filled with bliss. Life is so much more than this. So where do you go when nothing